He didn't even wait until the burial dirt settled. We were still standing by my grandfather's grave when my father leaned in, the smell of expensive scotch on his breath, and whispered in my ear, "You're useless now." Then he walked off. No warning, no apology, just that smug smirk he always wore when he thought he'd won. I stood there, suit still damp from the rain, fists clenched. The rest of the family barely looked at me. My sister, Emma, 17, cried into her sleeve. She was always more sensitive. He didn't even acknowledge her, not once. That was his tell. When he wanted something hidden, he ignored it completely. I used to admire him. When I was a kid, I thought my father walked on water. Big, loud, charming. A self-made man, or so he claimed. I bought into it. Worked hard. Law school. Straight A's. I never asked for anything, just wanted to make him proud. Grandpa, though, he saw through the show. He built the empire. My father just managed it, and poorly. When Grandpa got sick, I took a leave of absence, moved into the estate, fed him, cleaned him, sat by his bedside. Emma visited every weekend. Dad, he sent flowers. He showed up the night Grandpa died, already circling like a vulture. I should have seen it coming. The betrayal didn't come with a knife, it came with a signature. He signed papers before the funeral even ended. Security had already changed the gate codes when I got back. One of the guards I'd known for 5 years handed me a box of my things like it was a pizza delivery. "You're not on the list anymore." I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just left, went straight to the lawyer's office. I knew something was off. Grandpa was methodical, calculated. He wouldn't leave his legacy to a man who couldn't even visit him on his deathbed. Miss Holloway, his lawyer, met me with a tight smile, slid a thick folder across the table. "Did your father even read the will?" I blanked. "I don't think so." She laughed, the kind of laugh that smells like blood. Then he's in for a surprise. The will was a masterpiece. My grandfather left nothing to my father, not a dime. The $400 million estate was split, 90% in a trust for Emma, to be released when she turned 25, unless she married young or was found to be manipulated. The remaining 10%? Held in a silent trust, controlled by a new executor. Me. The best part? My father had already announced his inheritance to the press, bought a yacht, liquidated assets that weren't his, all before the will was formally read, which meant he committed fraud. I waited exactly 24 hours, just enough rope. Then I sent the documents to the board of directors at his company, the same company still technically owned by the estate. I CC'd federal financial regulators. I let the lawyers schedule the will reading for the next day. I wanted him in the room when it all fell apart. He walked in like a king. He walked out a ghost. I sat beside Emma. She held my hand. The lawyer read every line slowly, like a surgeon dissecting a body. When she reached the clause about intent to defraud or misrepresent entitlement, he paled. But when she hit the part about him being disqualified for abandonment of duty and familial neglect, he stood up. "You little bastard," he hissed at me. "You planned this." I just looked at him, calm, cold. "You planned it first." 15 minutes later, she turned pale too. My stepmother, the trophy wife, she'd encouraged him. I found the texts. "Bleed them dry. You deserve it all. They're just leeches." She thought she'd married into billions, but her prenup kicked in when the will declared fraud. She'd get nothing, not even alimony. I had the divorce papers ready. She signed them in shock. 35 minutes later, I pulled the final lever. Grandpa had left evidence, documents, financial records showing my father had been embezzling from the family foundation. Money meant for scholarships and housing, stolen to fund his lifestyle. I turned it all in, every shred. The FBI froze his accounts within the hour. Emma cried when I told her. not out of sadness, out of relief. She'd always feared our father would control her future, use her trust against her. But I was the executor, and I'd built walls he'd never scale. She was safe now, so was Grandpa's legacy. He found out who took his place the day the press released the headlines. CEO indicted. Son appointed executor of billion-dollar trust. He sat in the courtroom and watched me testify. Not once did I raise my voice. I just told the truth. The real truth he'd buried for decades under charm and cash. And then I spoke, at the sentencing. Calm, slow, clear. You told me I was useless, that I was nothing without your money. But you were the one who was nothing without his. You lost the only thing you could never steal: respect. He didn't look at me. Cowards rarely do. The last time I saw him, he was in cuffs. No mansion, no yacht, just an orange jumpsuit and silence. He looked small, smaller than I'd ever seen him.